Now that the hull's demolded and I've got like a bit of a free mind space, I'm going to start considering building some of the remaining modules that have to go inside this cat. Now I can't produce the deck until all of the modules are in because I simply can't fit them through the door, particularly the large Dinette module, which is a huge lounge suite, and it is integrated into the forward compression bulkhead, so it's a very important part of the structure of the boat as well. The one thing that it has got, it also integrates the nav station, which is a small nav station over on the starboard side just before going down the butterfly staircase. Now I've spent the morning here cleaning out all of my kayak manufacturing stuff. This is usually where I lay up all of my kayaks. I've actually decided I'm going to spend the next 3 months not making any kayaks. I'm taking a little bit of a break from that. It's January now. It's stinking hot outside. It's stinking hot up in the mould should I need to on some of the hotter days. So once I get it in here, there's going to be a lot of restoration, which is going to include wet sanding and polishing, and probably take around about a week or two to get that module ready to go. It is a large unit. It's one of the biggest ones that I have, or it is probably the biggest one with the exception of perhaps the large dual companionway. This is certainly longer. It will be a challenge, but the good thing is it's no higher than about 1.5 meters high, so pretty happy about that. I'm going to have to lift it out with my crane, a forklift, and then a couple of pallet jacks to slide it in here, and then I'll be able to shut this room down with my my plastic blinds and shut this room off pretty much for that work to commence, where I've made a lot of the other modules, in fact. So lots to do. I'm going to get into it. I'm going to finish cleaning up, and then I'll start to think about moving that module in here. So 4 trailers moved out into the road, the crane, a couple of boat trailers, my kayak trailer, all out on the road now to make room to bring this out. So I've just hooked this up, and trusty old ute still going. I think the clutch might be a bit stuffed, but that's the result of towing that big truck out. So that's why we got Greg Bacco in. But at the end of the day, I'm hooked up here. I've got this large Dinette module is actually on a boat trailer. The only problem is this tyre is flat, so I'm going to end up ruining this tyre as I drag it out. I'll just show you my problem I've got here. Over here, it's sitting on a boat trailer. The boat trailer is rooted basically. It's ready for the tip, but it's going to see this last job. But that tyre is flat. I can't get to the tyre because of the module, so the module has to be lifted off. Then this trailer, mate, she's going to the tip.
So the key is to have everything on wheels, and I have pretty much a job and a half just getting one module out. I have to move about 6 other items, and it does get a little bit tedious and very, very hard work, and at the end of the day, it gets done.
This could go any way. I've got to drag this thing out. Could go. Oh, the good old ute. Why we call it a ute is it's a utility vehicle. That's why we call them utes here. But yeah, that actually went better than I thought it went. As you can see, there's my Dinette module. Here we have the hatches underneath, and essentially that's the nav station over here, all in reverse and upside down. This part here, along here, is actually, that's a mast bulkhead there, and that integrates to the central compression bulkhead. Time to get to work. Right, let's have a look at what we're dealing with here. This mould has sat now for 14 years in the sun. Feels horrible. Feels like yeah, probably 120 grit sandpaper. So it needs to be fully restored, as I've done with all the other modules. Firstly, a good pressure wash. Secondly, at 800, 1000, 1200, 1500 grit at least before I'll be happy with the finish on this, and then I'll bring it back with 3 lots of cutting compound, and then, you know, probably 3 or 4 release coats before, and sealer glaze before I'll even consider laying up the actual module. But you can see it down in there, lots of dirt, lots of moss. As I said, we're now at probably 13 or 14 years this boat, or this module, has sat in the sun. The beauty of gel coat is this: you get all the grime off, it's then just a matter of giving it a good polish. Now that's an hour of pressure washing. Doesn't really look any different. It's very, very clean. However, the surface is still heavily oxidized, as all of the other modules have been, but I'm confident in getting a good result, and in about 3 or 4 days I'm going to have this polished up just like almost to a brand new standard. Righto, so it's 2 pallets. It's been a bit of an effort getting it on there. Can't find a pallet anywhere to save my soul in this place. So I've got just blocks of wood and 2 pallet jacks. So it's a one-man show. There's no one around, all the guys are flat out in there. I'm just going to feed this straight in there and set it down. It's ready to go. It's a game of millimeters. It's always a game of millimeters here. It only just fits. It's a big stinker, this thing. Well, I was wondering how I was going to do this one. I was wondering where I was going to put it. Actually fits really nicely in that wet room. I could use another 3 feet, but I haven't got it. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a bit of a hot work, but at least I can temperature control that room, especially during these 35-degree days like we've got today. It's an absolute stinker here today. I'm hot. I've been out there in the sun all day maneuvering this thing around. The joys of boat building, especially when you're doing it on your own, is such a challenge.
Now, quite a while ago, we removed the deck mould from the hull and set it down adjacent to the actual hull. Now, the day we put this down, I was anticipating getting this done within a couple of years. Now, it is actually 3 years later. So it's come time to start really considering time to start working on the deck mould. Now, it's going to have to be flipped over into the upside down position, and that's going to take a bit of work. And there's a couple of things I need to do prior to that flipping over. Now, I'm really glad I didn't flip it over on the day that I demolded the hull, because quite frankly, I wasn't ready. We ran out of time, and a couple of things that I need to do, I'm going to start doing right now, because it's happening in about 2 weeks' time.
So I'm down here on the deck mould. Now I've got a couple of issues here. When I first joined this slot that I've cut in the two moulds, and you can see it's not very straight, but that's not really going to matter for me. But this here, originally I sat on this side when I was laminating the joint at the top, and this side dropped down. So what I've done is I've actually chocked it and got it all level, and I'm going to feed some Techniglue into the slot from above. So this giant section here is actually the part that interlocks into the cockpit roof. Make sure that it is level as much as possible. So I've put that tape there to stop any glue from coming through and affecting the gel coat surface. Now it's epoxy based glue that I'm using, the Techniglue. And these three chocks here are going to hopefully keep it level until the glue sets, and then I can get up there and re-laminate it. So I spent an hour or so with the grinder last night and just cut it again, and I'm going to fix it before I flip the deck mould over. I'll just show you the top part. So this is the join here that I'm going to re-laminate. So I'm going to feed the Techniglue into that slot, fill that, and then go from there. On my knees again. Alright, so let's do this slot. That's already filled with Techniglue, so it's as strong as it could ever be, but I'm going to put a couple of layers of 600 on it just to finish it off. Now I've given this a good grind, and I'm just going to wet it down with a bit of acetone because it is so filthy. I'm not overly concerned, but Friday morning I'm getting this flipped over with the crane, and I just want to make sure that it is actually all sealed up, because I'm not going to get another chance to see this side of the hull or side of the deck mould until the day I demould it and we flip it back over again. So I won't be worrying about it being neat. I just want to get it down quick to walk away. So it's only polyester. It's only the mould. The whole mould's made of polyester. And I've got about a litre here of resin, which is way too much. But I might have to go back to my factory and get more. Quite nice up here in the sun. Nice little change for me. I'm only putting the peel ply on this, not that I need it. I'm just, we're expecting some rain tonight, and I figure if it gets a chance to cure, at least if it's got peel ply on it, it might just help with the moisture. Putting this layer, having it risen to the surface. If we get some rain tonight, this should be set in half an hour because it's out in the blazing sun. That's about 30 degrees, but if it does happen to rain tonight, at least there's a chance it won't get into the substrate. Very special unboxing. You're gonna laugh at this. I hate unboxing, you know how much I hate it, but it's a new tail lamp for my Ford. I've got it on film, don't you worry.
Yeah, I think we need a bit of closer motion for this.
Yeah, not a good day. 60 bucks. If I'd have bought this 5 years ago, it would have been 300 or 400 bucks. But yeah, 60 bucks. got to make retribution. Janet's sick of driving around in a ute that looks like she's just out of a bloody work site. So I've got to fix it up with Sabo, and I'll be ready to go again. Yeah. So restoring an old mould, particularly one that's sat in the sun for about 14 years, takes a hell of a lot of work. I have just completed a complete 800 grit wet and dry sand of the entire mould surface here. Now it's, as I said, 14 years in the Australian sun, particularly in the Queensland Australian sun, has been pretty brutal on this particular mould, but there's no reason why you can't get it back to a satisfactory finish. You'll notice what I've done here. This now has been done to 800 grit. It's an improvement, a marked improvement to the surface of this mould surface already. The next layer is 1000 grit. Now that 1000 will take it even to a higher luster, up to 1200, then 1500, and I'll be doing those two with an orbital sander. And still wet and dry though, very important we use that wet and dry. So what I've done is I've wiped all the powder off with a dry cloth. That paste that's there, if I were to continue on to the next layer or the next grade of sandpaper, i.e. 1000 grit, I'm going to then introduce more scratches back into the surface from the previous layer. So it's imperative that you clean each layer in between, both wet and then let it dry, let it paste off, and then wipe it off with a dry cloth, and then you've got a clean surface again. So I'm back here with a nice clean surface. I can continue on with my sanding. Once again, little small water bottle, spray bottle. You don't want to put too much water with a tiny amount of dishwashing detergent at this level. Once I get up to 1200 grit, I'm going to eliminate the detergent from the mix here so that I'm not introducing chemicals upon chemicals before I start doing my releases and certainly my sealer glaze, which is then going to seal the surface of this mould ready for moulding. Well, of course, quite a stir last week asking for an estimate as to the weight of our hull. Yeah, I've had around about 800 entries. Oh, geez, there's a few that are so close. I mean, the closest three are going to win a t-shirt and a mug. Very important that you have a go if you haven't already had a go. And don't forget, you have to be a subscriber. Remembering that the hull weight includes the forward modules in the forward staterooms, the wing frames, the bulkheads, and the engine modules, and the two heads and the companion stairway. Pretty much that's the weight that we lifted it at. We didn't leave any extra stuff in there that's going to be floating around so that it won't get damaged. So we're looking for a bare hull weight. Really, only the crane driver and myself knows the actual weight, and I'll try to reveal that in next week's video. So if you haven't already had a go, have a go. I hope you're in the running for one of our t-shirts so you can walk around the streets and support me in my endeavours to get this thing done. It's a beautiful hull. I'm absolutely in love with it. Pretty nice thing. So let's get back to it, and I'll see you next time on Life on the Hulls.